a lot of people have been asking me and talking to me about how they like my conversation style. They like the way that I talk to these people at protests. And that was the original goal when I set out to do this. When I set out to make my YouTube channel, it was to create something where I could have a conversation. The conversations weren't coming to me. So I had to go and create conversations with people. You know, you can't just go to the grocery store and start talking to somebody about political stuff, right? So you have to go somewhere where they're obviously going to want to talk about political stuff, and where better to do so than a protest? Because obviously they have something that they want to say. If they're at a protest, they want to say something. It's the whole reason they're there, right? So this is kind of a dual purpose episode. So this is actually step one. We'll call this like the first episode in our conversation series. Because in any good conversation, when you're having a conversation with someone, determining whether the conversation is open or closed, yeah, that's basic. Determining whether the person that you're conversing with has standards and principles that they are using as a basis of the ideas that they're telling you, that's more important. Now, this is more important also. Before you establish whether or not you agree with somebody, before you even get to the point to where you want to compare your actual stances, it's more important to determine whether or not that person has standards and principles they've used to come to that conclusion, to come to that decision. This can also be applied in the news world. So in the media world, when we're looking at CNN, Facebook, Fox News, Facebook, whatever, Facebook does disseminate news. When you're looking at anyone who's telling you information, you have to determine whether or not that person or that entity has integrity. Are they trustworthy? Are they genuine in their principles and standards? So we're going to look at a couple stories today, and we'll walk through the process of determining whether or not these media outlets have standards. And you can use this technique in your life when you're conversing with people that you know to determine whether or not somebody actually has integrity, okay? And when you're looking at media outlets, so when you're looking at who to get your information from, do they have integrity? Are they a trustworthy source? So let's get to it. The first one, you guys may have seen this story floating around recently. It's finally here, everyone. An emoji to mock men. So this came out on February 5th, so just about a week ago. And what is this about? This is the latest batch of emojis. I still wonder why we stopped using the word emoticons. I don't know what that was all about. Features new possibilities for shattering fragile masculinities and capitalism alike. How a emoji can shatter capitalism is beyond me, but this is Vice. Let's try to establish what they're trying to say their principle is here. Okay, so their principle is not only is it, well, just by reading the headline, you know, you can deduce a certain set of information from reading the headline, but let's go a little bit further. Let's just at least read the first couple of paragraphs. Great news. We're finally getting an emoji that's perfect for easily humiliating men when they're being disgusting online or, being men. So just when we're being men, that's worthy of being humiliated, just being a man, apparently. Okay. The small dick emoji, officially named Pinching Hand, the emoji has been approved by the Unicode Consortium for release across major platforms this year. First of all, a Unicode Consortium for emojis, who even knew? There's like an approval board. You have to send your emoji off. Hey, I want to get this approved for release on all platforms. What is it? It's a little fingers to measure small dicks. To smash the patriarchy. It's also great for illustrating capitalism's failures by capturing the inadequate minimum wage or your lackluster salary. What? The possibilities are endless. If your wage is small and inadequate, that's your own fault, first of all, and capitalism hasn't failed. Countless men who aren't secure in their masculinity, what does that even mean? Aren't secure in their masculinity? Will be affected by the new option, we know. But it was high time to replace the purple eggplant, which, as a 2015 study confirmed, everyone obviously used as a dick for something more realistic. Okay, so what can we gather from the article? Not only is it acceptable, but it's encouraged to humiliate men based on their bodies. Okay, so that's what we can establish from this article. Vice, and the article is by Vice staff, whatever that means. It says right here, by Vice staff. I don't know if that means it's like super official or anything. I'm not a regular reader of Vice, but we can establish that Vice thinks it's okay to shame men, shame people based on their body, the characteristics of their bodies. Is that right? Okay, so that's fine. Now, as long as they hold that standard up, we can say that they have integrity. Okay, so now this is where the test comes in. So step one is determining what they're trying to portray as their standard. And with this article, obviously, they're more than okay. They're encouraging humiliation of your body based on characteristics of your body. So now, if we take that standard and apply it in a different manner, this is where the test part comes in. We have to apply this in a standard, or we have to apply this standard in a way that would get the same result if it was used against someone that was, for example, on the same team as Vice. So does this apply in all situations? This humiliation of people based on their body. A quick Google search here. You go to trusty Google, and we'll do just a quick search for Vice body shaming. And now what do we see? How many articles? First article right here. Women talk about the worst body shaming they've, I'm going to guess, received. Second article, I dressed up as my fat shaming trolls. What vlogging my weight loss taught me about my fat shaming. If Insatiable wanted to skewer fat phobia, it should have cast a fat something. 51 ways to make the world less hostile to fat people. So let's just pop open this first one here. See, because I'm kind of getting an idea. Oh, God. Sorry you had to see that. Hairy armpit. But I hope I don't get banned off YouTube just for that. Women talk about the worst body shaming they've experienced. I've been told that I look like a reptile and that my skin is repulsive. Wait a second. Hold on. I'm confused. I thought that it was okay. I thought that it was cool and encouraged to humiliate people based on their body. Now, Vice failed the test. Okay, so this is clear. That's obvious. Vice, when their standard of body shaming can be used in a way that politically furthers their ideology, yes, all for it. Use that as their standard. Oh, I'm so principled against body shaming because it can further my ideology. When this standard can be applied to themselves or their own allies or, somebody that's on their team, do they implement it in the same way? The answer is no. If it's a woman, oh, body shaming is terrible. If it's a man, no, just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. Finally, it's here. It's finally here, guys. We have an emoji finally to shame men, humiliate them just for being men. We finally have that now. Okay, so they have no standard. They have no principles. They like to make you think that they have this principle against body shaming, but we can tell through this test that we've just done that they do not. Let's do another test on one of my favorite internet personalities, Shaun King. Now, Shaun King, if you guys are aware of the recent story, right at the beginning of the year, there was this developing story about Jazmine Barnes. Okay, she was a young black girl, ruthlessly shot in a Walmart parking lot by two black men. And at the time, we didn't know who shot her. Okay, so it was suspected. When the original story came out, it was suspected that it was a white man because that was what the eyewitnesses said. They saw a white man speed away in a truck that must be our shooter. Not only, well, this is kind of a side note, but we're going to immediately, automatically apply the charges of racism to that, even though we have no idea what his motivation is. We don't even know if it was a white man. But that's a side note, like I said. Turns out, okay, so what did we establish immediately off the bat with that story? Because this went viral, Shaun King was sharing it everywhere, tweeting it. We established the standard that we thought we were operating under was that this little girl's life was ruthlessly stolen by an evil person. Okay. Now, just how it happens, at that time, they thought that person was white. So what happens after the story develops? Some time goes on. He raises up the bounty on the reward, like to $100,000 for anyone that can give information on this. And I don't think anybody actually does. Does he actually give out any money? Nobody knows. But turns out the shooters were black. 2 black guys. Now, what happens to this inferno of social media hatred that was raging for weeks over her shooters? And find this white guy. He like comparing footage of trucks, like a picture from a security camera. They were comparing it, doing internet, detective work. Have you seen this truck? Is this the same truck? Is this the same guy? Non-stop fervor, raging inferno of passion on the internet for weeks. When we find out it was 2 black guys, what happens? Boom. Dead silent. They essentially go radio silent on that, and now I thought we were upset. I thought we were going to be happy to find the killers of Jazmine Barnes, but I guess the standard doesn't apply if the killer of the black girl is black. Different standards. We don't now. I know this is kind of a highly charged statement, but it does pretty much seem true that black deaths only matter to guys like Shaun King when the murderers are white. Now, why is that? Because, again, remember, if the standard can be applied in a way that furthers my ideology, I'm going to use it. I'm full in, all in, all in. If the standard can be applied against my own team, against black people, reward? What reward? I don't know. You guys, $100,000 reward? What are you talking about? I never heard anything about no reward. So, that's another great example. And he's been caught multiple times in these kind of things. But that low-hanging fruit, I know, Shaun King, low-hanging fruit. I'm just giving you an example of somebody who has no principles, no standards. And the most recent one, this just happened a couple days ago. Ilhan Omar, this new congresswoman, Huffington Post. Look at this Huffington Post article. Donald Trump criticizes Rep. Ilhan Omar for tweets. The story's not about Donald Trump, Huffington Post. I know you can't help yourself. You have to twist everything you can to be a story against Donald Trump, but this isn't a story about Donald Trump. That's fascinating right there. This is a perfect example. Donald Trump criticizes Representative Ilhan Omar for tweets. What kind of tweets? Why isn't the word anti-Semitic in the headline? Okay. Because, see, now if this was against somebody who was, say, for example, a straight white male, this headline would probably read something along the lines of Donald Trump praises bigot Louis for anti-Semitic tweets. Something like that, right? It would be, everything you need to know is in the headline. But here, so this is a little more nuanced. So what happens in a situation like this where you have Ilhan Omar, who is a woman, colored also, and Muslim. Man, that is way, way, way up on the intersectional totem pole. So every notch on the totem pole is a modifier for the level of intensity that this individual, or in this case, this organization, Huffington Post, is going to pursue their standard. So if a straight white male said the same exact things that she said, same tweets, about Jews trying to hypnotize everyone, he would get full intensity of this he would get full intensity on the anti-Semitism and the racism. Now, he gets 100%. Ilhan Omar, she gets, okay, so, she's a woman. All right, we'll knock down, 20% off that for being a woman. Colored, that's a good one. We'll knock off 30% for that. So we're already at 50%, okay? And then Muslim, that's a really good one. We'll knock it down another 15%. So we've knocked down 65% on the intensity. So we're only going to go after her with 35% of the intensity that we would have gone after a straight white male who said and done the same exact things. They made it obvious that they don't uphold this principle, this standard, because if I try to apply this to someone on my own team, it doesn't get the same reaction. So those are some examples of how, even just in the last couple of weeks, media stories where they've shown their hand multiple times over, where they don't have any standards. They have no principles. They have no integrity whatsoever. They don't actually care about racism. They don't actually care about anti-Semitism. They don't care about any of this stuff, okay? What they really care about is clicks. That's what they really want. They want you to click on their little, article on Twitter and share it and all that kind of stuff. But how can you apply this to having a conversation with an individual? For example, you'll come across people who, it's very common for people who align themselves with the left these days to hold two beliefs in their head that are not compatible. So, for example, global warming, number one, or climate change, whatever kind of buzzword you want to use for it these days. If somebody says at the same time, we need to go green, we need to save everything, I love it, the new Green Deal, we need to, I'm just give people money to people who don't want to work and are unwilling to work. And then on the other hand, they say, I'm totally for immigration. I want to just take in everybody. I mean, no borders, no wall, no USA at all. Everyone should just come on in whenever they want. Those are two incompatible behaviors or beliefs. So first of all, number one, with the global warming thing, you're going to try to establish what they're trying to set up as their standard. The principle they're trying to use to portray that is they want to save the planet. Okay, they think the planet's going to die. They want to save the planet. That's not compatible with being for open borders for the simple reason, and if they actually thought about this at all, they might come to this conclusion. But if you're taking someone from some country that is very underdeveloped, for example, like Syria, taking in a bunch of Syrian refugees, the carbon output of those countries, let's go to Wikipedia here real quick. So in America, we have a lot of technology. We're very industrialized. We have the ability to go to a Walmart that has every single product you can ever imagine inside of it. You can get high-speed internet. You can drive a car that consumes diesel fuel or gasoline. Everything here is run by trucks that run on diesel fuel across the country nonstop. Thousands and thousands of trucks, just putting so much CO2 into the air. So if you want to bring another person here, that means more trucks, more Walmarts, et cetera, et cetera. So here we are, United States, 16.5 metric tons per capita. Now, if we want to take someone from Syria, for example, Syrian Arab Republic, they put out 1.6, literally 10 times the amount of emissions. If you want to bring a person from Syria to America, they're going to emit 10 times the amount of CO2. So do you really want to save? Is the fate of the planet worth the emotional gratification that you're going to get from saying, I think we should take in refugees from Syria? And I know I know what you're thinking. Oh, Syria's a bad example. That's just some bombed up country. It's terrible. Okay, well, let's take a look at Mexico. Since Mexico is obviously in the discussion regarding immigration, 3.9 metric tons per capita. So, round up to 4. That's 4 times, okay? 4 times higher. Somebody in Mexico, every time you bring one person from Mexico to America, you're increasing that person's CO2 output roughly, on average, by 4 times, because in Mexico, they don't have as good of infrastructure and everything that we have here. So when you bring them here, they're going to be part of this economy, this system that uses and produces this much CO2. So is the fate of the planet worth your emotional gratification that you get from saying no border, no wall, no USA at all? Is it? How much do you want to have integrity? Do you want to have integrity? Because if you do, This is where it comes. If somebody has integrity, you present that point to them, they'll say, "Oh, wow, you're right. No, those two beliefs are in conflict with each other. Maybe I need to think about that a little bit further." And if they say, "No, I don't care. No, I don't care. I don't care. Your numbers." Usually what they'll say in this situation is when you present them with facts or whatever, they'll say, "Oh, I don't believe those numbers." I get that one a lot when I present the crime statistics of blacks. People don't like those. Yeah, so standards. If the person has standards, they'll say, "Oh, yeah, no, that's a problem." Or maybe they've already thought about it and they say, "Well, I am for going green, and I know that means, unfortunately, that we can't let in as many immigrants because that's going to really raise the CO2 output." That person has integrity because they realize that those beliefs are conflicting, and they're acknowledging that. Okay, so again, when you can apply a standard in a way that's against your own team and it gives you a negative output, that means that person has integrity. That person can be trustworthy. I'm not saying they necessarily are, but they do have the potential to be trustworthy. Somebody that applies this standard in different ways and does it blatantly, such as the examples that we already went over, they're not capable of being trustworthy. They don't even meet the basic requirements of being trustworthy, which is why you shouldn't go to them for information regarding your media, your news, etc., etc. Whatever you decide, whatever matrix of decisions happens in your brain regarding those issues, you better have standards. Otherwise, your opinion is worthless. Once I've established that somebody does have standards, then you can move to step 2. Okay, step 2 is looking at the actual stances and looking at how they came to those decisions. You don't want to continue to step 2 before determining whether or not that person has principles or standards. So in a conversation, if you skip that part about determining whether or not somebody actually is living and thinking by principles and standards, you're just going to be wasting your time. Okay, because if you're going to try and argue or debate with somebody that has no standards and principles, you're just wasting your time. There's no point, because not only does that person not think, they don't care about being factually correct. Okay, who cares about being factually correct when you can be morally correct, right? That's the AOC model, right? And that's what's popular today, is feeling good. I don't have to be factually accurate. I just want to feel good, man. It's counterproductive to society. If you want to perpetuate society and perpetuate civilization and perpetuate life, etc., the existence of the earth, then you need to be dealing with people who are living in reality. And they have principles and standards. And a lot of people can't do this. They can't do this because, you know why? This takes discipline. This takes mental fortitude to be able to admit to yourself sometimes that you're wrong or your ideas don't necessarily work. Okay? That's why nobody has these days. That's why nobody has these standards, because nobody has the mental fortitude to be able to come fight in their own head over an idea and come out to a conclusion that might say, well, maybe it's not exactly what I thought originally. Maybe, global warming, abortion, whatever stupid, divisive issue you want to use as an example. Maybe I didn't think about this or this particular idea. Maybe it's not what I thought it was. Well, now you're in this state of vulnerability, right? And you have to kind of mold yourself like a piece of clay back into an idea that can conform to your previously held beliefs, or maybe it's a whole new form with new beliefs. And that's the hard part. Nobody wants to change. They just want to get set in stone with an ideology, a stance, and stay there. Everyone who watches my channel is here because you want to know and learn and see how to live without having to conform to these standards of, well, I have to believe either A or B. It's a binary world, absolute world. I don't live in an absolute world, and neither should you. And that's not, if you're gonna live in an absolute world, your conversations are gonna be terrible. They're gonna be boring. They're not gonna go anywhere. You're never gonna get any insight. No one's gonna think you're smart. No one's gonna think you're interesting. So I encourage you to not have hard stances on things. I encourage you to think, be in a state of flux where your clay is still soft and you can form and mold yourself. My clay is never going to harden up, right? I'm built out of this this new technology clay where it doesn't even dry up. I can just keep moving it around and to adapt to whatever environment that I'm in, whatever ideology that makes the most logical and rational sense. Those are my principles: logic and rationality. Okay, so if anything makes logical sense, makes rational sense, if I can use facts and evidence to determine whether something is true or false, that's what I want to pursue. Sometimes that results in not having super hard stances on stuff, and that's okay. So stop living in this world where you're in this binary yes or no, on or off, left or right. Everyone's saying go green. I say go gray. Go gray for clay. Be moldable. Or, like Bruce Lee says, be like water. Okay? Yeah, water can flow. It can crash. It can fill the form of whatever vessel it's in. If you're one of these people that's just like, I'm a third-year Women's March veteran and I love abortion, isn't that? I hate Trump. You're not water. You're a frozen block of ice that's never going to be thawed because you're never going to move. You're never going to change. Your brain doesn't even work anymore. Okay, guys, when you have a stance and you never even question it, or you don't let somebody question it, and you don't check to see if it actually applies and is compatible with your standards and principles, that means your brain isn't working. Okay, there's no neurons firing. You have a hard drive that you stored ideas in, and you just keep reading that idea over and over. What is my opinion on A? Recite opinion on A. I love abortion. There's no thought process that goes in and rewrites those ideas, okay? To give you the nerdy computer comparison. That's all I got for you guys this time. If you have any topics that you want me to cover, drop me an email, WeeklyNarrativeCA@gmail.com. Let me know what you want to talk about in the comments below. Make sure to give me a like and a thumbs up if you want to help contribute to this spread of rational ideas and having principles and standards.